Yeah, Uncle, and everyone, I've made some notes from SP Bharilji's pravachan, which I'm going to showcase here, and I'm going to walk us through it. 1 second, let me present my screen.
We can see it, Shibir.
Okay, very good. Okay. Orang, are you able to see it big enough, or should I zoom in a little bit?
If you can zoom in a little bit. So,
okay.
Okay, yeah, I think it's fine, Shibir.
Okay. So, Jai Janendra, everyone. So the topic that Shri SP Bharilji was talking about for 3 days with us in this JAANA Shibir was, in Hindi, it was called Vikalpo Ka Mayajal. So right or wrong, the way I simply put it is, this topic pertains to entrapment by our own thoughts, us getting trapped by our own thoughts, how it affects our day-to-day worldly life, or if you think about Adhyatmic life or Moksha Marg, how it affects our Adhyatmic life, how it affects our relationships, and how it affects our own mental peace, right? So this workshop, as he was articulating, will help us realize and avoid various fallacies that we exhibit and we showcase based on Jain principles, which, if we apply them to both worldly life or to Moksha Marg, which is path of liberation, a successful application of this will give us better success in both those pursuits of happiness. Like Anup was talking yesterday about liberation is the pursuit of happiness. Path to liberation is what we follow to be happy. This, hopefully, the workshop conclusion will help us achieve that in both the worldly life as well as the Moksha Marg. What I'm attempting to do is, SP Bharilji did a fantastic job for 3 days in an interactive workshop with us. I'm trying to summarize that in 45 minutes, 3 days worth of 3 hours worth of lecture, right? So I'm focused on key messages. I'm pretty sure it won't do justice to fantastic lectures of Shri SP Bharilji, but I do hope it enables us to grasp the essence of what he was trying to say. And even more importantly, hope we can reflect on this in more detail in our own psyche. So that's what I'll attempt to do. So for day one, what did we cover, right? So before day one, the previous night, I think Bharilji had given us an audio clip really meant for some homework or some preparation prior to the workshop. And what he was asking us to do in that audio clip was, everyone should list down what we spend our mental time for all day, every day, right? Because we are constantly thinking, we are living beings. So he wanted us to reflect on what do we spend our mental energies on all day, every day. So we started the workshop by Pandit Bharilji soliciting and reviewing examples of what we had submitted. And in summary, if we look at all the examples that were being typed in the chat window, or if anybody had sent it to Shri Bharilji, all of them pertain to some thoughts, worries, fear and other emotions related to what we care for most, right? And what do we care for most? We care for family. Is my family going to be okay? Are my kids going to be okay? Are they going to get sufficiently educated? Are they going to be healthy? Are my parents going to be healthy? Am I going to keep my job? Am I going to get promoted in my job? Am I going to make more money? Any unknowns that might worry us. And one other thing that he spoke about was obsessing about the what if. So the what if is, what if I hadn't done that yesterday? What if this person had done this with me or said this to me instead of what they actually did? What if I had not made this mistake 5 days ago, which caused me a lot of stress or my family a lot of stress? What if others did not do this with me when they did and caused me stress, right? So it pertains to all of these examples that he covered with us. And as people were typing in, he commented on a few examples briefly, but then he bucketed them into just two dimensions for our consideration. And the objective was for their eventual solution. How did he bucket them, right? So he said, think about all of these things that you're worried about and you're constantly worked up about, anxious about. Very simply put, do they pertain to me or do they pertain not to me or to somebody else? This was the first one. If they do not pertain to me, I cannot control them and it's useless to worry about them. And then he explains that later, but that was the first one. The second was, are they beneficial to me or they are not beneficial to me? If they are beneficial to me, naturally I want to pursue them and I want to figure out how to go about it. But if they are not beneficial to me, then those are useless worries. They are a waste of mental cycles. And I should be better advised to not dwell on those. He further made an observation that about 25% of our mental cycles and the resulting emotions, those can be saved if we stop the habit of reading between the lines. So somebody told us something, somebody made an observation. We have a bad habit of constantly trying to figure out, we know what was said, but what was not said, and what would somebody have meant by saying what they said to us or doing something that they did, right? What motivates other people? So we go too deep into minutia with people and what they do and what we face as people amongst other people, right? So he also reminded us that one can truly be responsible only for what he or she says. If I say something to you, my responsibility starts and ends with what I tell you is the truth, how I say it, and was I honest about it? I should never worry about how somebody else might perceive it or understand it, because if they exceed what I tried to convey, then it's not my fault. But I can be very genuine about what I say or do and not worry about how somebody perceives it. And if we follow that, then it saves a lot of mental anguish and anxiety about, I did this, I don't know what somebody else thinks about it. And we constantly worry and obsess about it. We further categorized during the workshop, we further categorized those thoughts that we had listed down as pertaining to 3 time dimensions. We all know the concept of past, present, and future. And you'll be surprised, we concluded that about 60% of those obsessive thoughts that we just spoke of, they pertain to things that have already happened. They are the past. The rest 40% odd, they pertain to the future or the present. Now we know that future, ironically, is yet to happen, and the present only lasts. It is said in our Jain scriptures, everything happens, each paryay happens in one samay, and one samay is really an innumerable fraction of a second. That is the present. By the time you grasp the present, it's already gone, and multiple presents have passed and become the past already, right? So if you look at the whole 100% again, About 60% we obsess regarding the past, which we cannot change. About 40% then effectively pertain to the future that has yet to happen, right? So what are we obsessing about? And this helps us conclude that all this energy, is it well spent and purposeful? Does it help us achieve anything? It does not. Now, furthermore, he went on to explain that we do not evaluate our own historical experience with all these mental cycles and the outcomes of those in our own experience. Do we go back and look at, okay, I spent 5 hours obsessing about this particular topic in the past. What benefits did it give me? We don't compare our historical experience of doing the same thing over and over again. And therefore, those continue as bad habits for the future. Another thing that we explored is, for everything that happens or we desire to happen in the future to us, with us, do we identify the root cause? Do we identify the root cause of all this obsessive behavior for everything that goes on in our mental cycles? The root cause, upon thinking deeply, is really considering myself as the doer, which is really called kartritva buddhi in Jainism. We have 4 types of buddhi in Jainism: ekatva buddhi, which is oneness with something; mamatva buddhi, which is love for something we do, very simply put; kartritva buddhi, which is considering yourself as the doer of other things; and bhoktritva buddhi means being the feeling of being affected by those things. So the root cause of all these obsessive cycles is really your attachment and you feeling that you are the doer of those things. Therefore, you need to worry about all these aspects. And one can, if we study the Jain scriptures, we know that one cannot do anything with respect to another object, right? Every object at an atomic level, which is the Parmanu, is independent and causes its own actions based on their own nature. You cannot even do anything outside your own nature. So Shri S.P. Barilji encouraged us to consider yourself as the knower instead of the doer and reduce the stress that way. Now, once we identify the root causes of anything in life, right, whether it's Adhyatma or the worldly life, we spring into action pretty quickly because we, as human beings, we are naturally wired to find a solution with urgency once we know what we are solving for and what is the root cause that helps me find a solution. We summarize that the past is a fact. It has already happened, and therefore it is unchangeable. Our thoughts play tricks on us because we don't have the right knowledge or the right perception. Whatever happened in the past, our thoughts bucket them as a problem category. When we bucket them falsely as a problem category, we naturally think that I need to solve it. But you can't solve what has already happened. We forget that basic principle. And then the entrapment of thoughts begins as a result. Moreover, our subconscious mind, it creates a story to support our bias of being right. So somebody said something to me. It was already in the past. I didn't like what they said. Then we start associating our history with them. If I was them, I wouldn't do it this way. They did this and it bothered me. Last time also they did that only. Their nature is bad already. I don't know why I associate myself with them. Last time also I ended up getting affected by this. This time also I was trying to be very nice to them, but I ended getting affected all the same. Maybe I don't need this person in my life. You go on and on. And what is surprising is all this blame game begins in our own subconscious. It causes us more mental upset. And we might say something out of frustration and anger, so it upsets other people around us. And in the best of cases, we are still not happy, even if we don't upset others. We are not happy perpetually, right? So we carry the weight of these biases, and we create these stories to support our biases. And he pointed out an interesting thing, that it's easy to spot that we usually characterize ourselves as the victim. Others are usually at fault, right? And these mental cycles, therefore, they weigh us down, and then they are utterly useless, use of our time. Now, we discussed tricks to reduce and quit this habit. We've already discussed what we do and why we do them and how useless they are, but what can we do about it? Now, what we can do about it is analyze every entrapment, every thought and situation with this lens. Is it a fact, which means it has already happened, you can't change it? Or is it a problem that we need to solve for? If it is a fact and something that has already happened, you can learn from it, but don't dwell on what happened, why it happened, can I change it, I should have done this, I should have done that. Don't do that. Stay away from those habits. The stories and the biases that we create and the mental weights that we carry of these stories of the past, throw those away. Future is not here yet, so you can't change what has not yet happened. Present is too minuscule to even be able to catch. So live in the moment and without baggage, and live a good life. And this applies equally to the worldly life as well as the path of moksha marg and practicing sahajta that Dada practices so affectionately with all of us. Taking another angle at this, we all know about the karma theory in Jainism. Even thinking from the karma theory perspective, whatever we face today, whatever is my current experience, it is due to my own past karmas. We all believe that. How deeply we understand karmas is another thing. Every person understands it differently. But we all know that we are being served the dish that we ourselves cooked based on our past actions, which became our karmas that came to fruition in the present life. So therefore, if we understand that, we know that we have no reason to blame anybody else, including ourselves. Why? Because whatever we did, again, was in the past. It caused some fruition of karma, and there is nothing I can change about it today. What I can focus on is my present, because if I engross and associate myself to these fruition from the past, I will cause cyclically more karmas to be bound, and again I will have to face them in the future. So that's one aspect to think of from a Jainism standpoint. Before concluding for day one, he gave us an example of the Indian Air Force fighter pilot who was captured by Pakistani army in 2019. And he was held captive, I think, for about 60 hours. Now, he went into this in a lot of detail because it was the workshop format. I'll summarize very quickly to say Abhinandan might have spent a lot of time waiting in the prison cell, thinking about, are these Pakistanis going to torture me? Are they going to give me some chemicals to make me spill secrets for the country? How's my family doing? Do they know I am even alive? They might be worried sick about me. All of that. So imagine 60 days or 60 hours, whatever that was. I don't remember exactly, but he might have spent countless mental cycles by himself sitting in that prison cell, unaware of what was going on here in the India side, right? The Indians had a huge outpour of sentiment for him. Everybody, including the Prime Minister, had plans to get him back to India, and all options were being thought through. Shri S.P. Barilji asked us to consider, did Abhinandan's thoughts while sitting alone about all the pros and cons and what might happen, Did they cause his freedom? Because we know he got freed up eventually. India was able to diplomatically work to get him back to the country. Or what was happening was irrespective of his thoughts. And he asked us to contemplate about our own mental cycles using this example and conclude that whatever has to happen already is pre-decided and it happens. You don't have to spin a lot of mental cycles obsessing about it or thinking about it. We got a homework exercise and a point to ponder at the end of day one. Are our mental cycles productive towards happiness or achievement of our goals? Or they do not cause us happiness or move us towards achievement of our goals? So that's what we ended day one with. Are we still okay on time? I think we are okay on time. So day two.
We have, by the way, we are fine with the time, even if it takes longer than 45 minutes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'll make sure I conclude by 4:30, and then we can do the youth Q&A also, Uncle. So great. So hopefully I made sense in recapping day one. For day two, which was yesterday, we started the workshop by recapping the Abhinandan Vardhaman, the Indian Air Force pilot example. We realized before the workshop that whatever has happened is a fact. You cannot change it. Don't dwell on those thoughts, but instead focus your energies on the solution part of it. Because solution is where you're going to make some progress. Just obsessing about the past and not doing anything is not going to get you anywhere. Then we were encouraged to think about, do we emphasize enough on the solution at all? And then SP Bharilji reminded us of a couple of things that we've seen him mention in JAANA Shibir's prior years. One of the famous things he mentioned was life is a recorded match. He used a sports analogy, a recorded cricket game, just like if India and Pakistan or India and any country is having a cricket game, and let's say the match is in dire position when it's going on, and then eventually India wins despite a very well fought game, then somebody who comes and watches that recorded match but is already aware of the result of the game, the result was in India's favor and they were an India fan, they won't be worried if wickets fall, somebody gets out, somebody gets injured, because they know that all of this, even when it seems like the opposition has one leg up in the middle of the game, they won't worry about it because they already know that, I already know India won and I care for India to win, and we already have that outcome. So they won't worry. The same way, using that analogy, he said in our real life, our current life, obviously we spoke about karmas, our current life and our current experience is a function of our past karmas. In that sense, whatever comes to fruition in the current life is already pre-decided. Not just pre-decided, it's pre-decided for all time spans, which is past, which has already happened, present, which is my current experience, and even the future. And therefore, it is out of our control. It's not like the future is still in my control. The past has happened, so it's not in my control, and present is going on, right? Even the future, because our Kevali Bhagwan has seen every object, every living organism's past, present, and future. And we know the Kal, the time span is Anadi Anant, right? So everything Kevali Bhagwan only sees if those are the truths. And once they see, we already know that it's pre-decided. We didn't go into one other hot topic in Jainism. Whenever we say everything is fixed, including the future, SP Bharilji did not go into Purusharth and Krambad. Krambad is everything is fixed. You cannot change it. You can only work towards Tattva Gyan. He did not dive into that on this workshop. But let us remember that when we are talking about it. Our Tattva Gyanis, our Pandits, our Acharyas, they all talk about what you can actually do. Even if the future is fixed, you don't know what the future is. So what our duty really is to focus on the nature of the universe, the nature of me, and what are my boundaries, and just focused on Vastuswal, the nature of objects, and my focus is on nature of me and my progress as a soul, as a Jeev Tattva. So that is all the Purusharth we've been asked to do in this life, when we know that the future is fixed, but I don't know about it and I cannot change it. The point that Shri Bharilji was making was, when we are faced with all of that, why do we want to spend time dwelling on those thoughts? Another thing that he mentioned, which he had mentioned before in prior Shivirs, was, in addition to life being a recorded match, I should not worry about it. I am also just a spectator. Whether that event pertains to the past, whether it's unfolding in the present, I falsely believe that I can change what is unfolding in the present. And because I believe that, that causes me the two bad type of dhyans. We all know 4 type of dhyans. Artha Dhyan, Rodra Dhyan, which are bad type of dhyans. You obsess about different things, including your passions and aversions when you have those Artha Dhyan and Rodra Dhyan. And Dharma Dhyan and Shukla Dhyan. Dharma Dhyan is what Gyanis have when they are on the path to moksha, after having the right perception. The intensity varies. And the Shukla Dhyan is what Munis have when they go on the Shreni path, from 8th Gunasthan onwards. But that's not what we are discussing. This is just a side note there. The Artha Dhyan and Rodra Dhyan are bad for me. So obsessing about things, considering myself the doer of those things, with the blame game and other things that we spoke of, makes me not be a spectator to what is going on. And that causes me Artha Dhyan and Rodra Dhyan. Then Shri S.P. Bharilji gave reference of something from Mokshmarg Prakashak. Simply translated in English, it means, due to my ragdvesh, due to my passions and aversions, engrossing on any gaya tattva means any object or something worth knowing. So due to ragdvesh, engrossing on any gaya or defocusing from any gaya is called vikalp or thought. We were thinking about, okay, all these vikalps, how can I stop them? Are they useful to me or not? He went a little bit deeper into the root cause of that. He said, due to ragdvesh, with the Mokshmarg Prakashak reference, engrossing on any gaya, obsessing about any gaya, or defocusing because of anger, I don't want to do this, is called vikalp or thought. It is different from knowing the gaya or the object, or knowing your thoughts. Because knowing is not an issue. It is a function of our Gyan Svabhava as Jeev Tattva. So knowing is not a problem. The act of dwelling on it obsessively, engrossing in it with the multiplication factor of Rag and Dvesh, and the strong attachment, including Mithyatva, is really the problem. So he challenged us to think, can we try to stay detached with sahajta, with simplicity, letting things be as they are, like our Vitragi Sarvagya Bhagavan practiced, instead of the constant, he calls it mulyankan, constant evaluation of everything in 2 buckets. Is this good for me? Is this bad for me? Everything that I face, everything that somebody else does that I don't control, we constantly mentally evaluate that as, is this good for me? If it is good for me, I feel happy about it. Then I want more of it. If it is bad for me, I feel like, why did this person do this? I never did this to them. Can we change it next time? So the cycle continues. He went on to explain the difference between nirvikalp and nirvichar. And this also comes in a lot of swadhyaya that we do. One can never become nirvichar or thoughtless. Like I said, our nature is to know and see, and we can't defy that. Actually, it's a blessing. One, however, can be nirvikalp, which is a state of detachment with whatever thoughts, objects, or whatever is happening to us and around us. Because we are trying to stay not engrossed. We're trying to not have strong passions and aversions to it. It's a tough path to walk on given where we are, but it's something that can be incrementally practiced and achieved. What we want to do is be aware that it's okay to have thoughts. They can be anything, good, bad, ugly, but the attachment with those thoughts and spinning mental cycles to obsess about them and to try to change them, try to be the doer of them is what causes this cycle. One other thing that he challenged us to think about is, do we know and realize our life's purpose? If we did, we would learn to follow the process to achieve the purpose. He basically said everything boils down to just two things in life. Do you know what is your purpose? If you know your purpose, are you doing everything to achieve it? Which means you now only have to focus on the process to achieve the purpose that you know, right? If my purpose is to be happy, if my purpose is to achieve, eat good food, then what I should be doing is to figure out either how best to cook good food and be happy, or how to find people who cook good food and eat that and be happy. It's a very trivial example, worldly example, but we are really trying to apply it to Adhyatma. Our true purpose is to achieve moksha. To achieve moksha, we want to walk the path of liberation, which is what the Gyanis achieve when they achieve Samyak Darshan in 4th Gunasthan, and then they walk the path of 14 Gunasthans to become Siddh. So whatever might be our purpose, because this workshop is not just about Adhyatma, it is focused on Adhyatma, but if we even apply this to our day-to-day lives, we can still find out a worldly purpose and then figure out the process to achieve that purpose. I think that was the gist of what he was trying to tell us. He asked us to consider if we've thought about the purpose and the process and concluded that, maybe 99% of our actions, they don't even serve our purpose. He gave a few examples, but one example he gave was married life of a husband and a wife, where wife usually makes tea in the morning. One day she forgets to make the tea, husband gets upset, why did you not make the tea? And it goes and becomes an ego battle. And same thing for other things that we all face in our married lives, right? So if our purpose, he reminded us, was to be happy together and live harmoniously, then the conflict that we have on day-to-day topics between us, ego becomes our personal bias, our stories become our personal bias, past becomes a personal bias. We victimize ourselves and make others faulty in how they approach us. All of that has no place if our purpose was to be happy and live together. He applied the same thing to Adhyatma. Our purpose is to achieve moksha, salvation, free ourselves from the cycle of life and death. If this is our passionate purpose, are we doing everything to walk and run towards that path of liberation? Because that will lead us to free ourselves from the cycle of this life and death. He left us with one more thought before concluding for the day, which was strive for peace at all costs. Because it will give us the mental balance to focus on what truly matters to us, what is our desired purpose, and avoid all these wasteful mental cycles that we discussed previously. The homework that we all got on day 2 was to think about, if my purpose is to achieve moksha in 4 lifespans, what is the process for it? And then for the final day, he hinted us that he's going to discuss some principles based on Samaisar Gatha 96, 97 and its analysis. So that was day 2. Day 3, we began with recap of Vikalp and Vichar from the prior day that we covered here. So I won't go into it because we are going through it in one shot with the Mokshamarg Prakashak reference. He reminded us again that we can apply the law of detachment even in our state, right? Wherever we are in our life, we can apply the law of detachment, stop the habit of judging everything as this is good for me, this is bad for me, and forcing ourselves to be a doer. It's actually the biggest fault, forcing ourselves to feel like the doer of everything. That mentality should be ironed out and thrown away to experience true detachment. He also reminded us that don't try to critically evaluate everything all the time with everybody, within your thoughts, even with yourself. The goal was not to stop the thoughts, because we can't, but to stop the constant evaluation of things and to practice detachment. He reminded us to be a spectator, because life is a recorded match, and not to attempt to change things around us or change people around us or try to change the past and obsess on it. Now, for the exercise that we had as homework, we explored that a little more today. There was a visual that he showcased where, there was a lifespan picture, somebody from 1 year old to 80 years old. We went on to say that, in this visual, you're not going to live more than 80, 90, whatever age in this life. The early years up to 40 are gone either in being a child, doing childish things, or getting educated in your youth, and then getting married and starting a family and what have you. So he went on to conclude, most of the people who are left with these type of thoughts and these type of desires, let's say we conclude they are between 40 and 75 or 80 years of age. That was the makeup of our audience today. Let's see if we know the purpose. The life prior to 40 is gone. Wherever we are between 40 and 80, do we know the purpose? At least now. Forgetting those years that we don't have to worry about because they are in the past. Those who don't know the purpose are unfortunate because they don't know how to think about life and the eternity of life. But he said the most unfortunate ones are the people like us who know the purpose. We all know we want to go to moksha, but we haven't focused on the right process to achieve it. We all know there is moksha marg. We all know there is samyak darshan. But do we internalize the purpose enough to focus on the process? Or do we consider it a checklist activity to do swadhyaya, to listen to lectures, and think that it satisfies our purpose? It doesn't, right? Walking that path with the right process, obsessing on the process in a worldly sense, I don't mean obsessing it in the adhyatmic sense, but worrying about the purpose enough so that you follow the process that's laid out to really achieve the outcome. Do we keep ourselves honest on this process to the purpose? Instead of all these infinite and useless mental cycles that we focus on day in, day out, do we evaluate, is this leading us to our purpose or is taking us away from it? Once we take the first meaningful step towards our purpose, after that, it becomes all about optimization. And the example that he used was a flight. So an aeroplane takes a lot of planning and thinking and problem solving, for the very first inch, it has to move up above the ground. After it takes 1 inch upward flight, we already know that whatever we did to make it fly will now work. That concept needs to be optimized from that point on, right? So same way, we are mithya drashtis. We want to achieve moksha. We have to achieve samyak darshan so that we can walk the right path. The samyak darshan is like taking the flight 1 inch from the ground. You've now achieved flight. Now you can soar higher, right? So that was the analogy he used. Ultimately, after we take off 1 inch from the ground, we are going to go very quickly towards moksha because we have to repeat and optimize. At the end, he had promised us a few principles to get out of these entrapments and all the discussion that we had leading towards this, which is the first one. He said, life is a recorded match. Everything is Krambad. We discussed both those things today when we were going through the prior day notes. Don't be a doer, but be a knower. Being a doer is not going to help us accomplish anything. Why being a doer is not going to help us accomplish anything? Because there is independence at an atomic level in this whole universe. We cannot neither control or change our nature or the nature of other things. And therefore, all the efforts towards those changes, all the efforts towards obsessing with our thoughts for the changes, they are very futile. Understand this to get the right perception, which is Samyak Darshan. Understand and apply the concept of Nimit Upadan to everything I encounter or whatever I desire to accomplish. What will it do? It will enable me to understand what is the accurate cause and effect of whatever happens around us, to us, instead of focusing on things that don't cause those things to happen. Instead of focusing on changing those non-causal aspects or trying to change other objects or other people and bend them to our will, because that won't happen and it would cause mental cycles and frustration. We've studied Nimit Upadan in detail in our Swadhyaya Shibirs. Nimit is only a catalyst, it's only present, it's a pardravya. While its presence is important in something happening, it does not cause something to happen. The true cause of something that happens, let's say Samyak Darshan, is Jeev's own Nij Shakti or Charitra Gun ki Nirmal Paryay, right? In your disposition of the right belief for attaining Samyak Darshan, not Charitra, I'm sorry. So the understanding the concepts of Nimit Upadan, they help us understand the true causes towards the desired actions. So we defocus from running helter-skelter, trying to do something that does not cause that action to happen. Understand the process, but understand the purpose and understand this ecosystem together. Because if we understand the purpose, we will follow the process and we will achieve our desired outcome. Finally, we referenced Sameshsar Kalash 34, and he quoted something from it. Hey Bhavyajan, kya labh hai is vyarth ke bakwaad ka? Which means if your goal is moksha, and we've examined the nature of the universe and nature of who soul is, nature of Atma Tattva, and we've studied how all these objects interplay and what should be done to achieve moksha. After knowing all that, what is the point of all this utterly useless chatter? And the chatter can be both verbal and non-verbal, right? The mental ones that we are focusing on. He encouraged us based on Shastras, which even our Pujya Gurudev Kanji Swami says in many lectures, spend 6 months doing deep swadhyay, thinking about nature of stuff and nature of your own self. Internalize your true nature in context of what you understand about the universe from Jain scriptures. It is certain that alone will propel us towards the path of liberation, which is moksha marg. You will achieve samyak darshan and then eventually moksha. So that's what we ended the 3-day workshop with. And his hope was that we learned something about how life operates, how to operate in life, what to focus on, what to remove ourselves from, and stop this useless waste of mental bandwidth in trying to change stuff incessantly. So those were all my notes. I appreciate you patiently listening. I'll go back to Atul uncle. Atul uncle. Jai Jindu.
Thank you, Kshitij. Very well presented.
Uncle, if I misconcluded something, if I incorrectly said something while I was doing this, please keep me honest. Any of you can tell me if I misstated anything.
Yeah, no, I found it very, very beneficial to all the youth. Maybe we'll post it also, so those who could not join, maybe they can listen to it. You want to open it for Q&A?
Not even youth. I think it was good for
adults
also. Yeah, it was a good revision. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for listening.
Yeah, very well said, Kshitij. I think the term entrapment is perfect because we are all prisoners of our thoughts, and the answer I can see on your T-shirt, which is to roam free. Okay, so and SP Bharil is a master of taking all the fundamentals of Jainism and synthesizing it so that it can be applied in day-to-day life. And what you have done is beautifully capture all the notes and summarize it in English for our youth. So thank you so much for doing that. It was fantastic.
So Adi, how did you find this presentation?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting. It covered everything it made it easier to understand.
Good.
What about Akshay and Shreya? What do you think?
I thought it was amazing. He explained everything in good depth, and it was a good revision for me too, like Anup uncle said.
Very nice.
Very good, very good. Yeah, if this presentation helps even one child, it's worth it.
Yes.
Anybody else wants to say?
Shreya, you want to say something?
It was a great presentation.
Say you're muted. Unmute.
It was a great presentation. I learned a lot about the thoughts.
Yeah. You have to be honest, not because it was your day. Just say it. You really liked it, right?
I learned about thoughts, how it affected our life.
Good, good.
Good. Any other kids?
Is Sonia there, Anup? Did Sonia attend or?
She couldn't attend, but she will watch the video.
Right, then get
Rohan.
the feedback from her also, like both the videos, yesterday's, your presentation and today, Kshitij's presentation. More and more kids, if more and more kids will join and they will listen to this, then that would be really beneficial to them.
I think it's very good for the youth to know this because it will help them in their day-to-day life also. Because everybody, nobody is free from this. Everybody is trapped in this cycle of thoughts. And,
Right.
what Kshitij has done by explaining this in English is he has brought this to the youth who don't understand Hindi. And so I'm going to make sure that both Rohan and Sonia, listen to this, because it's going to help them even in their day-to-day life.
Right.
खूब જ प्राउड થાય છે, बहुत प्राउड होता है क्षितिज हमारे सन है बहुत ही प्राउड होता है.
Good. Kshitij got a seal of approval now.
We are also very proud of Kshitij and everybody.
Yeah. We are a good team.
Yeah.
Everybody is truly interested in Tattva Gyan. So that makes it more effective whenever we say something or we present something to a group or to individuals or whatever. Whenever we meet, we talk. And I know, I understand that how you feel, because
very proud.
Because even when our kids get into this, that's the best thing that can happen to us.
बचपन में उसको सिखाया, अभी हम सीख रहे हैं.
आप उनकी मम्मी है ना, आप उनकी मम्मी है, और शीतल पत्नी, आप दोनों बहुत लकी है. और क्षितिज भी बहुत लकी है, आप जैसी मम्मी और तुम जैसी पत्नी मिली.
Anybody else?
Ultimately,
और पिताजी और
no, pride aside, I think we, like Anup was saying, we all suffer from the same thing. हमें कितना भी अध्यात्म पता हो, लेकिन हम जैसे एसपी बारिल जी बता रहे थे, how effectively are we able to apply it? मैं ये सब बोल दूं फटाफट, but when a real situation comes in life, which comes every day in different forms, if I am not able to apply it and not get better at it, even if I wasn't able to apply it before, then there is no progress. It's zero again, right? So मैं 4 बार present कर दूं, but I haven't changed anything, then that doesn't count for anything. So I think it's a good reminder that we all should keep working together like we do. We are extremely thankful to Atul uncle, Charu auntie, and this ecosystem that they've created for all of us to learn together regardless of age. And in this JAANA forums, everything we all do together, I think it's a constant reinforcement. Where I struggle, somebody else may succeed better. We can learn from each other's experiences on how to apply. That's where Barilji, SP Barilji is really useful in connecting the dots between practical application of Jainism to what we study in books and know very well by this time.
Correct. So, that's true. And actually that also makes us and our kids connected to this, because if we don't show the practical aspect, then definitely books will not go into deep into their thoughts. Right. And I wanted to thank Anup also for yesterday's presentation, because it was again, I will not say that Adi has not read all that, but it was a good revision for him. So definitely it was helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that kids continue to watch this and learn from it, because Jainism has so much to offer. So correct. It's good to see them watch.
Yeah.
Gaurav and Desna, you want to say anything?
Uncle, it was a really great presentation. I was there with my younger daughter. My older one is at a class, but I would love to show her the recorded one. Even yesterday's presentation was very nice. It really helped kids to kind of relate on what we tell them to what our teaching is. So that was really helpful. Thank you, Satish Bhai and Anup Bhai, for both the presentations.
Good, thanks. Naresh, you want to say anything? Naresh, or anybody else for that matter before we conclude?
Hey, Jai Jinendra. Atul Bhai, Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Yeah, really happy that Kshitij, presented this, translated this in a language that everyone can understand. And I wish he will continue doing this for many, many, many deep secrets of Jainism that will come through in the sessions. And the challenge for me still remains. how do we get this presentation across to more people? Like I find it difficult even to get my kids to listen to it. But I hope one day they would be able to do it. When it comes to discussions, they have very good points, but in a formal manner, listening to lectures is something that the current youth doesn't accept. For them, like they need like bite-sized thing, like just maybe 2 minutes lectures.
Right.
So that is the challenge which I face many a times. But I hope one day, someone will come up in this forum who will be able to summarize this whole thing in just maybe 2 minutes, like what Kshitij did.
We can start with a bite size and then serve them the full meal.
Yeah, exactly. Like what
They
Kshitij
will
did.
enjoy it.
So 3 days topic in 45 minutes. Now, so we need someone who would take this 45 minutes and make it 5 minutes.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a very good point you raised, that for our kids, for these kids, they cannot sit for 45 minutes trying to listen to this. Even if we want to, I think you are right. Maybe that is another step we need to consider.
Maybe we change a format a little bit and make it like a PowerPoint, but just take one topic, just one point, and then explain them that more explanation on that one point.
And we can make it more interactive, Auntie. So it's something that I have talked.
Right.
Both Kshitij and Anup have been talking about that, because this is virtual. That is another issue, right? So if this was a live in person, then it would have been a lot better, because then you can interact with people and you can start asking questions right away.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, we will have this in person also in Chicago.
Right.
Shibir, Chicago Shibir, we can do it.
So at least those who can come, they should come and try it out. Chicago के वाले youth तो आएंगे ही आएंगे.
Right.
Good. So our next session begins at 7:30 Central Time. तब मिलते हैं. Jai Jinendra everybody.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jinendra.